Good evening, great souls. Welcome to this evening's program, this evening's celebration of our beloved Guru's Mahasamadhi. It's a real sacred occasion to be coming together as a spiritual family, as disciples of our great master, to celebrate that moment in which our beloved Guru merged back into the infinite, into God. Of course, not leaving behind anything except, of course, his love, his grace, his power that is always accessible for anyone who chooses to tune into that vibration that is here on this earth. And for all of us who are disciples, those who are watching online around the world, those who are here this evening, there's a special blessing as we become into a place in our own consciousness, in our own heart, to focus even deeper and more openly of receiving this truth that the Guru lives within us. And as Yogananda said, that even when he leaves the body, he will always be with us. And of course, we know where the Guru is. The Guru is within us, but also in every particle of creation. So this evening we celebrate his living presence with chanting, with meditation, as well as this evening we'll have an opportunity to visit the relics of our beloved Guru, which we'll share more information of that shortly. So let's begin with a prayer together, inviting our Guru to be with us, to bless us. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shiyukteshwar, beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all traditions, we humbly invoke thy blessings. Blessed Guru, saturate us with thy holy presence. Infuse our hearts with thy infinite love. Help us to embrace thy consciousness in everything we do, and help us to serve others as you have served. We know thou art ever near. Awaken within us thy living presence. We are eternally grateful for all that you give to us. We offer our hearts in devotion at thy feet. Be with us this evening. Bless us as your channel to bring thy light into all hearts. Om, peace. Amen. So this evening, we will have some logistics. We will have periods of meditation and chanting, and we will at one point this evening, we will have a 20-minute period of time where we will invite everyone to go to the relics of our Guru that are spread around the niches of the temple, and you can meditate with them. That'll be accompanied by some music from the monks. And then we'll all come back together and have a brief meditation before we close. I'd like to invite Lisa Powers to come up and describe a little bit more about the relics, and also very grateful and thankful that Lisa has allowed us to have this opportunity to be with the relics this evening. So Lisa, do you mind coming up and sharing a little bit?
I just take care of them for all of us. They belong to everyone. So when you do go around to the different 4 stations, over here is Master's pocket watch, which his father gave him when he graduated from college, and it has his initials on the back, Mukunda Lal Ghosh, MLG, and there's a little mirror there. I'm not sure if you can really see it or not. And then The station back here has a picnic set of folding utensils, silver utensils, with wood handles and a little pouch that they fit in that Master used in the 1930s when he was in India, and also a cane that Master used in 1935 and 36 when he was in India. You'll notice that the handle is restored. It's actually pretty much in there, but there's a lot of wormholes, so we just needed to make sure that it stayed together, so we've put some material over it following the shape of the cane as it originally was. And then back here is Master's Esraj. It's an Indian version of a little cello, if you will. It's played with a bow, and it has strings underneath the main strings that harmonize and vibrate with it. So it's a very exotic little instrument. There's a picture there showing Master playing one, though it is not the same one. And then right over here is a little locket with a piece of Master's robe, some of his hair, and one of his Rudraksha beads, and also his handkerchief that has his initials SY for Swami Yogananda. Okay. And so please don't touch the relics. And if you are going to use the pillows, keep the pillows out far enough so that people can get out of the chairs. And there's plenty of room for little traffic flow there. Okay, thank you.
And this evening, I was speaking to my parents before coming here and telling them about how we celebrate our gurus, passing in this life, and they were a little confused of why we would celebrate such a thing after so many years after he's left the body. But it made me think a little bit about why and what we're celebrating. So one thing I invite you this evening throughout all of the activities, and especially for those online also, is to inwardly feel this beautiful smile of our beloved Guru smiling within you, because in that smile, I think that all the answers to life's mysteries exist in that smile. So may you all be deeply blessed this evening, that you feel Guru's love and blessings with you, and we'd like to invite the choir to share with us this evening.
Of laughter, hints of joy, sweet songs of sadness, of quenchless yearning for the light, for my love, your true home. Long your heart has played the dancer, long you've toyed with merest shadows of the treasures left behind you, deep in your soul. Long you've plumbed the dark for answers, long you've begged from beggars empty hands, gifts of life they too were seeking, gifts none could share. Friend, how long will you wander? Friend, as long as you seek your home in a land where all are strangers, love locks her door. Leave to the weak his grave, and life to the coward leave his dreaming. Oh, my saint, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Leave to the weak his grave, and life to the coward leave his dreaming. Oh, my saint, wake up, reclaim the light, seek the truth behind all seeming. Turn, turn, turn
Happy Master's Mahasamadhi to you all. We're so very fortunate to have such security in our lives. We're in a world today, of course, of lots of insecurity, and it seems that that is what humanity focuses on, is where can we find security? And of course, we see the common approaches, which are in our job, in our money, in our family, in our home, in all these things that are external to ourselves. And the one thing that they all have in common is that they're temporary. And when Swamiji held the autobiography of a yogi in the Doubleday Duran bookstore to his chest like this, when Doug Birch came up to him and started to tell him all about his success in his new radio career and his family that he was going to build, and he was going to find security. And Swamiji was too aware, just like each of us, we're too aware of the temporal nature of these securities. So we're so very fortunate to have found a security that's eternal. And this is what the Master came to give us, is the science of Kriya Yoga through which we could offer ourselves back into the infinite. So what I wanted to really touch on in my brief time, it's such a pleasure to offer some thoughts this evening with you all. And when I was looking through this book, The New Path, I came across many stories that were just so good to read and remember again. And in one of them, I was getting a great laugh because Swamiji was going to give a talk, and somebody advised to him to see the whole audience as cabbage heads. And Swami said he thanked him doubtfully. He said he thought that that might not work for him. But I thought about that, and I thought, well, a bunch of smiling devotees, my friends, you know, it's so much better than cabbage heads. So I figured I'd go with just what I can see is you all. Beautiful, smiling, devotional people. I'm going to read a little bit from the New Path, and what is security? Where do we find security? With all this scary stuff floating around in the world today, we can easily slip into the idea that we need to find security externally. But we know, as devotees, that our security, it comes through our attunement. It comes from being in tune with Master. He knows what to do about our various karmic situations, and we do not. So if we can be, like Jesus said, little children, then we'll be more like little children in Master's hands as we go through life. We will deepen our attunement, and we will find that security that we're seeking, which will remove from us all fear. As it says in Sri Yukteswar's chant, "Night and day in thy joy, I will deceive the enemy of desire." And he also speaks of the great security of the path of seeking God, of finding God, that it removes, what does it say? He says, you won't have to fear anything anymore. What greater security, how fortunate we are to be seeking real security. So the reading that I've chosen from the New Path is, Swamiji writes in his chapter, Work versus Meditation. He says, hard work was important to our way of life as regular meditation was. You must be intensely active for God, Master said, before you can attain that actionless state of union with Him. More than either work or meditation, however, was the stress he placed on the importance of devotion. Without love for God, he told us, no one can find Him. Nightly I chanted Master's translation of a song by the great Bengali saint Ram Prasad. Will that day come to me when saying, Mother, Mother, my eyes will flow with tears. Gradually I found myself becoming transformed inwardly. This is Swamiji getting in tune, feeling attunement. He says, I began to feel I had some cause for self-congratulation when one day word came to me that Master had been talking with a group of monks in Encinitas, and during the course of the conversation, he had remarked lovingly, "Look how I have changed, Walter." And of course, Walter is Swami Kriyananda. It was Yoganandaji's way of addressing him. So, look how I have changed, Walter. You can put your own name in that space. And I have a funny story about this, and it has to do with one of the places that I serve in the community is doing various catering jobs for events with my wife, Melody. And it was a long time ago. It was when Badri and Gita had just been engaged, and there was a big celebration for that. And so we were asked to do the catering. And so we decided to do a khichdi and these Indian potatoes and some other things. And we showed up at the house where we were going to be cooking, and I was very inexperienced at this time with cooking. And I didn't bring my own pot. And so the only pots that were there were these very thin-bottomed pots. And I started to cook the khichdi without the knowledge that this specific flame on this gas burner, it wasn't very reliable. It was like blowing around, and sometimes it'd be high, other times it'd go low. And it's just one of the things chefs deal with, is that you get in an unfamiliar kitchen and you gotta pray. So here we are, and I immediately start to, as soon as the khichdi starts to bubble up, I start to smell burning. I'm like, that's not right. It's not supposed to burn before it's done. It's supposed to burn if you leave it after it's been cooked. But nevertheless, it burned. And Jyotish and Devi were on the way, and they were coming with a large group of people who I wanted to give really good food to. I wanted to serve them the best food that I could make, and there was nothing we could do. It was burned. You could taste that burny taste in it. And so what did I do? It was very similar to Swamiji. He says, nightly I chanted Master's translation. He's just talking about going really into a devotional place where he's just offering himself constantly, and every thought that comes that's selfish, he's just offering it up, and he's just working so as hard as a human being can to attune themselves through devotion. And so what I did was I went in the corner of the kitchen, and I just started to pray. I said, Master, you will not do this. You cannot do this. You can't ruin the food for these 25 people who are coming for this beautiful engagement party. There must be something we can do. And this was one of the first real miracles I saw in my life. In my mind, the thought came as a result of the prayer. Go see what other ingredients you have left in your bag. So I go in the bag, and there's 2 cans of coconut milk in there. I opened those up and poured them in. And the khichdi had the most uniquely wonderful flavor. It was like smoky coconut khichdi. And that's what we wrote on the board. We wrote smoky coconut khichdi. And I could feel, after this reading, I could hear Master say, look how I've changed Kalidas's khichdi. And, each one of us has these experiences that help us grow in our attunement. And it doesn't always involve ease and pleasure, does it? Usually it involves struggle that we really don't know if we can handle or not. And that's kind of what causes us to pray and offer ourselves so sincerely. And as a result, we draw that blessing, that real security, and that grows, doesn't it? You who have been on the path so long, you have no cause to fear anymore, because that attunement with your guru, it's eternal. It takes you beyond this world. And so Master left this world 68 years ago, and he didn't leave this world. He's here with us. He's living in us. And it's said many times in many Indian philosophies that one must have a living guru. One must have a living teacher. And we have this great blessing of community in which we're surrounded by them. We're surrounded by devotees getting in tune with the guru. And Master said that God works through instruments. And so he said he especially works through those who are in tune with him. So I look at the community, I see teachers everywhere. And what are they teaching? They're not pulling up a blackboard and pointing at points. They're living the spiritual teachings. No matter what comes up in their life, they're applying the spiritual teachings. And for me, when I veer off the path, which happens often, I have these examples of these great teachers who bring me back to the path, who show me the example once again of what I need to be doing. Praying, one thing, offering myself, and I'd say most of all, asking Master to flow through me in everything that I do. Because it's His power that's going to carry us through the spiritual eye. It's His power that's going to write books through Swami Kriyananda. It's His power that's going to do whatever your dharma is. So, even when Master was alive, people would come to him and say, "What should I do about this challenge?" And they would detail it, long, detail-oriented challenge, a conundrum. And Master would not give them, usually, specific advice. He would say, put your mind here, do your best, and give it to God with devotion. And why did he do that? Why wouldn't an omniscient Master just tell them what to do if he knew the path for each of us? Why wouldn't he tell us that that pot had too thin of a bottom? Why wouldn't he tell me that? He wanted this problem to happen so I could grow in my attunement. And so when people would come to him with questions, he would say, you grow in your attunement. Get in touch with me inside you. That will be your power. If I just tell you what to do, you'll be dependent on this external body to you. So attunement is our greatest security. And we live in such insecure times, it's a blessing because none of it's going to work. Besides our attunement with something that doesn't end, the love of God, the joy of God, and the joy of living for God together. So thank you all for being part of this community and just adding your essential piece to it, because we're all helping each other to grow so very fast. And I'd say if there's one other thing that does provide us with deep security, it's the spiritual community. It's that we live with kind people who wish well to us. And you know, each of us has had that experience of the great blessing of community in some unique way, saving us and keeping us on the path and helping us see what we need to do to get back in tune. And we'll get blown many times off what they call the razor's edge. The path is a razor's edge. But when we see people get blown on their butt and they fall and they get hurt, we help them get back up. And that's what it is. We're just all getting back up together. The force of Maya that God made is very strong. So it blows us off the razor's edge and we fall and we have hard times. And this is a really good quote I'll end with Swamiji. He says, and this is also very much applies to each of our lives, I think. There were times when I myself, this is Swamiji speaking, he says, there were times when I myself felt that Master had erred in some matter, or had not sufficiently grasped some point. There was even a time, as you'll see in a later chapter, when my questioning took the form of more serious doubts, but always I found in time that it was he who was right. And of course, apply this to your own life. He's sending you situations that sometimes you'll think, is Master, I think he may have missed something here. This isn't right. And always in time, we will find that it was he who was right, won't we? And we each have our own appropriate challenge. No one's is more difficult than any other, because we have the Guru. He's going to help us through it, and it's going to be an appropriate challenge. Always it will be he who is right. And let me just finish that paragraph. He says, always I found in time that it was he who was right. His actions, unusual though they sometimes were, and not always reasonable in appearance, were based on sure intuitions that incredibly always worked out for the best. This is, again, each of our stories as we tune into that great security of the omnipresent Guru. He says, whenever his plans went awry, it was, I think, because of our own want of attunement in carrying them out. And so we have a chant. If I find not those pearls of wisdom, I won't blame the sea for not containing them. I will find fault with my diving, with my own search. It needs to deepen. If I'm having struggle and the karmic struggle is tearing me apart, and it doesn't seem like this could possibly come from love, it's our job to deepen that attunement. And remember, the Master said only love can take my place. So that's a place to start. How can we get back in tune when the karmic tides have overtaken us? Only love can take my place. Master will show us again as we put our mind here, as we do our best, and as we give this challenge to God with devotion. He will help us to find that transcendence and that freedom from our karma that we're all seeking. So thank you all for attending this beautiful ceremony in which all of our energies combined draw such powerful blessings. Jai Guru.
I'd like to share Yogananda's poem after this from Whispers from Eternity. After the prison petals of this earth life fade away, and my soul perfume disappears, with the mighty cosmic wind of spirit, no more would I be confined in the flower cage of life. If I must return, however, let it be to mingle the dewdrop tears of other prisoned souls with my own, that I may show them the way by which I myself won my freedom. Oh, I would not mind dwelling for a time in the roses and the daffodils, if it were by my own free will, but forever to stay even behind the bars of beauty, reveling in the sun rays, violet and gold, I care not. No more will I be compelled to live in even the most beautiful golden heaven. To me it would be only a cage. Freely from flower to flower will I fly. I will wear the dark veil of the night. I will shimmer with the myriad stars. I will be their very light. I will be the waking of the dawn, and I will shine in the warming rays of friendship. I will be the shepherd of stray souls, and also the humblest lamb in all his fold. I will be the most famous among men, and the very least known in a cosmic cycle. I will be the tiniest cosmic spark, and will also roll with the mighty vapors of life, dashing myself exuberantly upon rocks of worldly strife. I will be the clouds, wearing rainbow garlands. I will puff out bubbles of planets with my breath, then float them on the tides of space. I will be the babbling brook and the voice of the nightingale. As emotion waves, I will surge on the sea of all beings, holding to a little flotsam of laughter. I will float to the endless shore of supreme bliss. I will sing through the voices of all. I will preach in all temples and through all prayers. I will think with the thoughts of all. I will love everything and everyone with the love of God. The hearts of all will be my heart. The souls of all will be my soul. And the smiles of all, my smile.
So So we'll now transition to our relics pilgrimage. And so we will take now 20 minutes to remain inward as we take a pilgrimage around the temple to meditate and commune with the vibration of the different relics. We'll meet back here in 20 minutes to have another reading bringing us into a meditation. And as much as possible, feel free to just even remain seated and meditating as we go deeper and deeper, interiorizing inside this presence of our Guru. So once the monks will be providing some of Master's music while we spend this time on pilgrimage. So let's begin now our pilgrimage, and we'll meet back here in 20 minutes. And if we can dim the lights, that would be wonderful. Around the relic, and so we have placed those rose petals to absorb the blessings and vibration of our Guru, which we invite you as you take your pilgrimage to each of the altars to take a few rose petals with you, if you wish, from each of the altars. And there is envelopes on your way out of the temple. On your way home, you can then place those rose petals on the envelopes so that you can take this holy vibration home with you. In our last few minutes of our meditation, I'd like to share with you our Guru's words, that we may meditate on them for a few minutes before we close this evening. And these words spoken by our Guru the evening of his Mahasamadhi, where he had his room upstairs, and before he came down to the banquet, he was said to be in a deep state of ecstasy, a deep meditation. And just prior to coming downstairs to the banquet, he gathered a few nuns and a few of the monks, and he sat them down. And in that deep state of ecstasy, these were reported to be the last words that he spoke directly to his group of disciples before he went to the banquet. So I welcome you to drink these words in from our Guru as feeling these are his words to you. You must all strive to remain in harmony, and in harmony carry on the work. Whether I am in the desert or I have retired behind the scene of life, resting in the Supreme, it must not make any difference to any one of you. But you should all carry on with the greatest harmony and kindness to one another, and be so drunk with love for God and His activity that you will not know time until you realize you are one with God. Love one another. Love the ideals I have instilled within you. And remember this: you are not working for man. You are not working for money. You have worked for Divine Mother. You are working for her, and you must always hold that thought in your mind that you will be working for her until the end of life. This has been my greatest pleasure, to work only for the Divine Mother. I know that as long as we strive to please her, Divine Mother forgives our blemishes, because she knows we are trying to seek her and to love her alone. And practice your Kriya faithfully. Kriya will be the key to the reality of the kingdom, infinite kingdom and happiness. May God bless you all with that love divine. We'll meditate for a couple of minutes on these words. Seek security as the world is seeking. Let's take a moment to visualize this planet filled with our Guru's blessings, with his healing power, in his loving grace, filling all souls who may be suffering at this time, that wherever there is darkness, that his consciousness and love may prevail. And let us close together with the Divine Mother prayer. Please pray with me. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Thou art in all those in need. Thou art in this world. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, minds, and souls. I'd like now to invite Bhagavati and Ramesha to come up to offer us our closing prayer in the form of this beautiful song given to us by Swamiji.
Long I've called you, my Lord, long I've called you. Many years I have longed for your sight. Bathe the darkness with tears of devotion. Offered candles in prayer to your light. How much longer, friend, must I cry your name? I am yours, ever yours. Will you come? Long I've called you, my Lord, long I've called you. Many years I have longed for your sight. Bathe the darkness with tears of devotion. Offered candles in prayer to your light. How much longer, friend, must I cry your name? I am yours, ever yours. Will you
Thank you all for coming this evening. For those who wish to stay to meditate in silence, please feel free to do so. Master's blessings.